New intro music courtesy of Greg Combs. What do you think about that?
I think that was awesome.
That's good stuff right there. Greg, I want to come cut a track, though, on the drums with you one day. I want to thank you for this music. What's going on, everybody? We got a third mic in here today. Just to kick this off, got a lot to talk about. I don't know if anybody watched the Super Bowl yesterday. We're going to get into the Super Bowl. We're going to talk a little. Well, we're going to start. Well, we'll talk a little Trevor Bauer and the Mets debacle, and that's why my man Jake is here. He's a baseball guy. Number to call in 845-366-2095. You got anything to say? You want to comment? If you want to battle, 845-366-2095. So, Kenny.
Nicholas.
How you feeling?
Feeling good.
How's your health?
Health is good. Had quite the weekend. Friday.
Tell me about it.
Friday morning, 6 a.m. I woke up, doubled over with some tremendous abdominal pain. And I know I wasn't pregnant as a man, and it felt like something was trying to squeeze through my groin that was way too big. So I had to get to the hospital to be told that I had a kidney stone.
How many?
3.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. Trust me.
Getting old, man. It was painful. And so before I left for the hospital, I get up at 6 in the morning and go downstairs, and I don't have any pain meds. So I started drinking whiskey and water. Just whiskey and water to see if I could take the edge off. And then I was going to try and just, have it pass. But it wasn't happening. It was not happening. And then I drank so much water and so much whiskey that I vomited. My body wasn't keeping it.
Oh, my God.
Got myself to the hospital. They took care of me. And now still trying to pass those stones. But thanks for the well wishes.
So, in case you don't know, Jake, what happens is if you drink a lot of soda, you get rocks in your kidneys, and you have to pee those out in an excruciating, painful exercise.
Yeah, well, weren't we just talking about, like, kidney stones? Like, Kenny was just talking about those, like, a while ago? Like,
yeah.
And they, like, happened?
No, it wasn't a while ago.
Was it, like, the same?
It was, like, 3 days before.
Yeah,
So,
we
like,
were like, wow, it's so awesome that I haven't had any kidney stones.
Yeah, I remember
I was at your house. That's like a jinx.
Little did we know, bubbling up inside was three stones.
You're like, you don't get him, like, until, like, every 5 years. I don't even remember what it was.
Well, he kept saying, I get him once every, like, 3 years. Meanwhile, the last time he had him was, like, 6 months ago.
And then 3 days later, he has him.
And now he's got him again.
It's bad.
So, a lot going on in the world of sports. Some notable deaths. Leon Spinks passed away. Famous boxer. John Chaney, famous basketball coach. That may have not have been last week. Temple University, big time influence in college basketball. And yesterday, Pedro Gomez, baseball reporter, beat writer for ESPN.
You unlocked this, right?
Yeah.
Trying to find us.
It's unlocked. I don't know where it went.
Where are we posting right now? Where are we live streaming? I know I just interrupted your whole little thing there. But where are we streaming? I'm looking for us.
It's on Facebook, the regular Nick Kranz page.
Do you share this yet with the New York Nick?
Yeah, it's up. It's up. Yeah, it's on. It's unlocked. Yeah, let's go.
All right.
We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pedro Gomez passed away. Unfortunately, I used to I liked Pedro Gomez, sports reporter, baseball.
I didn't. When you told me about that, I didn't know who it was. But then when I saw a picture of
Yeah.
him, then I knew who he was.
Yeah, I mean sometimes people, I know I do get him mixed up with Sal Palantonio, who's a football ESPN guy, usually covers the Eagles. But yeah, I mean Leon Spinks, you know, in the boxing world, very young. I don't know his exact age, but he's in his 60s. So yeah, tough. I mean, they just keep passing away. Trevor Bauer. Now, let me just talk about the Mets for a second. Well, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl and all the craziness, the halftime show. If you want to talk about the commercials, if you want to whatever, talk about Brady and some of the things that transpired in that game with Matthews and a lot of other things, and everybody crying and went into bed over the referees and bitching and complaining. We're going to get into all that. But I just wanted to talk about Trevor Bauer for a second. So Trevor Bauer, and this is more, the Mets can't seem to get out of their own way, right? So they get new ownership. Steve Cohen comes in, buys the Mets. Everybody's like, this is going to be great. You know, they're going to make moves. They're going to come in and make a splash, and then they do, right?
Yeah.
Who did they sign?
They signed Lindor. They signed didn't they sign like Carrasco?
Yeah, Lindor and Carrasco, and then everybody thinks it's just going to shoot up from there. And then they miss out on a couple other guys. They miss out on Springer. And then you had this whole thing with the GM had to get fired for sending you know,
Yeah, a lot of controversy surrounding the Mets. in the
illicit
offseason.
pics to a reporter after like 60 some unanswered text messages. So they have to let him go. And that's really probably not like, maybe you should have vetted him a little bit better because some people knew this was out there apparently. And now you have, then you go into the whole thing with Cohen and
like the
short sales. Yeah, the short sales.
He's just trying to make a living.
Yeah, and he makes a comment going back and forth with Dave Portnoy during a pandemic in New York that, you know, I'm just trying to make a living like everybody else, which I understand what he's saying. But when you're worth a couple, when you're a multi-billionaire and you're trying to say, hey, I'm just trying to make a few shekels for a living.
Who bought the Mets for a hobby?
Yeah, I mean he bought a New York professional sports team for something to do, and then you make that dumb comment, right? And now you have this whole thing with Trevor Bauer. And this is really not the Mets' fault, but it just seems to find the Mets all the time.
It's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, Trevor Bauer goes and he's, first of all, he's a social media lunatic, right? And
a lot of people argue that's good for the sport. A lot of people argue that it's bad. But I don't see how it's bad a lot of the time.
It's bad if it's constant. Right, like he's constantly just saying,
go overboard. He does go overboard sometimes, for sure. But like,
yeah, now he has this issue with the Mets where he basically his team, and when you say his team, you know, it's him, right? That's it. You know, he is his team of people, his marketing people, and they put this out there that he's signing with the Mets. The Mets even thought it was a done deal. Because according to Sandy Alderson, he said, I've never been this far into a negotiation and not signed the deal. So then they put out, and his team puts out, and they're auctioning off autographed Mets hats. And then Trevor Bauer has to retract this whole thing because he ends up signing with the Dodgers for like $40 million a year. Like some kind of crazy number, record-breaking contract. But why are you signing Mets hats? Why are you even signing those? You weren't going to go to the Mets.
I could be wrong, but I think he might have been doing that with other teams.
Just signing hats?
I don't know.
And then his team puts out that he's going to pitch for the Mets and he can't wait to be there. And now he's got a hat signed, a Met hat signed. He signs it?
Well, they didn't do that for everyone else. Like, they didn't come out saying he's going to sign with every team. But
I mean, it's just, I don't know. And you know what? If you want to sign Trevor Bauer, fine. But you're going to get everything that then comes with Trevor Bauer.
I mean, I think this whole thing that he was trying to do with this whole, because he was wearing around different teams' hats that were like final candidates to get him. Like he was wearing them around like.
What is a reality show? Was he doing? Was he trying to do a reality show?
Basically, he does the vlogs on YouTube and stuff, and he was wearing around just the random teams' hats. He was video calling like fans from those teams and stuff, wearing their hats and just like talking to them and stuff. I feel like he was just trying to make the baseball offseason more like entertaining. because a lot of the times I feel like it's one of the more boring off seasons in sports compared to like the NBA and stuff, which is normally crazy. The NBA off seasons have been crazy the past few years. I mean, so I feel like he was just trying to.
Well, that's a Major League Baseball issue, right? They need to be better at.
Yeah.
They need to be better at that.
Yeah, they need to be better with a lot of things.
Okay, so let's say it was the Yankees. Do you think the Yankees, if the Yankees signed Trevor Bauer for $40 million a year, would you be happy with that?
I mean, I'd be happy that we got Trevor Bauer, but I wouldn't be happy that we're spending $100 million a year on pitching.
Yeah, I mean, $40 million a year, and let's just look. I mean, he's pitched to a 3.9 ERA his career. He's a 500 pitcher. Okay, he hasn't played on great teams.
He
A couple
played
good
on the
Cleveland teams, right?
On the Cleveland, yeah, Cleveland.
But he's led the league in 2 categories. Really, he led in his whole career. ERA last year, and in 2015, he led the league in walks. Those are the only two statistical categories he led the league in. ERA and walks.
Okay, but
walks is not a good one.
Yeah, but last year he was definitely should have won NL Cy Young.
Okay, he had a 1.73 ERA. I get it. The year before, he had a 6.39 ERA. The year before that, he had a 3.79, then a 4.48. 2018, he was an all-star. I mean, you're going to tell me that's $40 million a year?
I mean,
$40 million.
I mean, they're going based off.
Better be Nolan Ryan. You better have more dark numbers on this, more bold numbers on baseballreference.com.
I mean, they're going based off of last year a lot of the time.
I think the Mets dodged
How
the
he's
bullet.
going to progress.
I think the Mets dodged the bullet because you're going to get all the bullshit that comes with Trevor Bauer.
Well, with signing a guy that's $40 million, no matter who he is, I mean, there's a lot of upsides because if he's worth $40 million, then he's probably pretty good. But there's also the downsides of you're spending $40 million a year on one guy. So I mean, it's not really a big loss for the Mets, in my opinion.
It's not. I think the Mets actually benefit from not having him.
The Mets already have.
I'm being honest.
They already have DeGrom. What's the deal with Syndergaard? Is he still hurt?
I don't know what Syndergaard's deal is.
Why were they in
I
the
mean, he
market
makes-
for a pitcher if they already have DeGrom?
Well, because you need more than one pitcher,
You
right?
can never have enough
You
pitching.
can never have
Okay,
enough
so
pitchers.
now you said why would they want to deal with the bullshit? Because you can never have enough pitching.
$40 million a year. DeGrom's probably already getting a hefty sum of money too each year. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
They just signed Lindor. I'm assuming that was a pretty big deal as well.
Well,
Carrasco,
didn't it? Wasn't
I
that a
don't think
trade?
That was really that big.
That was a trade, though. They got him for 1 year. Then they have to sign him, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, in the future they're gonna have to.
gonna be a lot of
they're
money.
gonna have to pay in the future. I mean, so it all cancels out really.
I mean, LA just shot the pitching market through the sky. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why did he go there?
$40 million? Basically, what he did is he just used the Mets as leverage.
That happens all the time.
Happens all the time. But now it really looks bad because your team put out you were going there, you were going to sign. Here's a Mets hat. Here's a signed Mets hat. Can't wait to come there and all
Well,
this
he's a-
stuff.
he's
And
a
guess
big
what?
media
I
guy.
used your team and I'm not going.
I mean,
Now you look like shit. Good. And then he goes, now he's going to donate money to charity in New York because of the mistake. And, he offered an apology and he's donating $10,000 a piece to all these different charities and stuff, which is great. Listen, at the end of the day, though, Jesus, you led the league in 2 categories. One of them is walks.
well, he's originally from
million
like
dollars.
around Los Angeles area, California. He went to UCLA with Garrett Cole. They've had some scuffles at UCLA apparently, so maybe that's part of the reason why.
Like with each other, or they had scuffles like they were out
with
beating others up in bars.
No, like with each other. Like they've had like their differences, but like he said previously, like they're all good now. Like they're not like there's nothing like wrong between them. Now,
I don't know.
But
I don't know. I mean, I think his team of people, and whoever's on his team. I mean, I don't know who his people are. I don't know who's part of Trevor Bauer's team of people.
I mean,
or anything
LA,
like that. His
LA,
agent. I don't know who his agent is.
Rachel Luba.
Who is it?
Rachel Luba.
Oh, so it's a female agent. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, Nick, what do you have to say about that?
Nothing.
She also represents Yasiel Puig.
Oh, so that's good then, right? We should all be applauding.
She
It's
got
a
him
female
$40 million
agent, right?
contract.
That's the highest contract in baseball, negotiated by a female agent. I think that's good news. We had a female referee in the Super Bowl. one referee, but I think it was side judge. Now we have a female referee negotiating the highest contract ever in baseball, probably professional sports.
40 million a year is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. She's going to get a lot of money for that.
How many years did he sign for?
I don't even know. Don't even care.
I thought it was 3 years. No?
I don't know. He's going to get $40 million a year. That's a great thing. I wish people cared about those kind of things when, on the other side, like Kellyanne Conway was the first woman to get a president elected, but everybody shit on her. Somebody really cared about that big accomplishment by a female. But I digress. Just got to get a little political there for a second, just to get everybody's feathers ruffled.
I can't vote yet, so.
It's funny you brought that up because
You may be able to.
talking about politics, I was in the car and on the radio, one of these media hosts was questioning what people are going to be spending their stimulus checks on. And if you received your stimulus check, what are you going to spend it on? Hypothetically, if you had received a stimulus check, what would you spend it on? Or what would you have expected people to spend it on? And the person she called said, I spent it on debt. And the host took issue with that.
Wait. Say that again. The host, repeat that.
The host was inquiring of the average person. What is it that you're spending your stimulus check on? And she called this random individual, was able to get on the radio. Not random, but could have been anybody. And her answer was, I spent it on debt. I paid debt. It was credit card debt. And the host took issue with that as if to say that was not the purpose of the stimulus check. And I really kind of looked cross-eyed at that because I said, wait a minute, I thought the stimulus check was for people who need to make rent, pay bills, keep food on the table.
Well, that's to stimulate the economy.
I don't know. I never.
Well, no, I think. Well, that's because.
And that's the way
yes.
you're looking at it. Is the way the host was looking at it, saying, "How is that stimulating the economy?" And my attitude was, "Wait a minute. If you owed your landlord rent, you paid your landlord with it. If you needed food on your table or clothes on your back, then you paid the supermarket with it. If you charged your credit card for the food or for the clothes, then you pay your credit card with it." So I really wasn't sure why the host was saying, "Oh my gosh, you didn't use your stimulus check in the right place."
Because in his eyes, it doesn't stimulate the economy, right? Paying off your debt doesn't stimulate the economy because they've already used their credit to buy. So the merchant has been paid. They don't give a shit about the credit card companies, right, or the banks.
Well, that's
They're
not
saying,
nice.
I'm not saying it's nice or not. I'm just
economy.
trying to put myself in his position. So he's looking at, no, you should go out and buy goods. You should go out and spend it in local businesses, and you should go out and spend it here. Well, don't give me the money and then tie strings and tell me where to spend it.
I feel like there's a lot worse places that you can spend the money than debt, though.
Yeah, we could all just buy fireworks.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. If you spend it on, if you spend it on debt,
You have less debt.
you have less debt. But probably in the minds of a lot of people, it's why spend it on debt? The government will just come and bail your debt out. You could just claim bankruptcy or don't pay off your student loans because we're going to give it to you. So we're going to give you a stimulus and then we're going to pay off your debt.
You should run for president. That's a great idea. Give everybody a stimulus and pay off their debt.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But that's the mentality. It's why spend it on debt? Screw the debt. Who cares about the debt? It's the bank's fault. It's the credit card company's fault. Not back in the day with the mortgage crisis, right? You bought the house knowing you couldn't pay for it. Let's be honest. Let's be real. When you go out and you buy the big screen TV and all this shit on your credit cards, you can't afford it for the most part. You're not doing it to pay it off at the end of the month and get your miles. You're not doing it. But we want to blame the banks and everybody else. But we don't want to take any or give any ownership or responsibility to the people that signed that couldn't pay. They knew they couldn't pay. They were getting mortgages that they couldn't afford because they were saying, well, if I just don't get cat food for my cats every other week, I don't buy as big of a bag, that'll save me a couple shekels and I can get this mortgage. Like it's insane. It's insane to me. It's just
Is it insane to you?
it's insane.
All right, so that was a little politics. Jake, when is your podcast?
When? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, when is your next podcast?
Why are you looking at me?
Maybe.
When
me and
was
Chase-
your last podcast?
Our
then?
last one was posted on Friday on YouTube, but we can't get Anchor to work.
Really? What was the topic of your What's the name of your podcast?
Rants Podcast, FRANTZ podcast.
And generally, what have you guys been talking about?
Honestly, just everything. Like we talk about, we used to do the Mandalorian reviews. Now we do the WandaVision reviews on Disney Plus. We talked about the Super Bowl a couple of times. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl
Whatever's
right
going on.
now.
Yeah. Sweet. Let's do it.
Super Bowl, Tom Brady. Does this game just even further cement a legacy that didn't even need any help? I mean, let's look at the game. I took all these notes during the game yesterday.
You did.
I took all these notes because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take a bunch of
That's
notes.
a
This
lie.
way, if just like a couple little things happen, I could talk about them in a close game. These notes are bullshit. Tampa Bay just blew them out in every aspect of the game.
Where did you celebrate the Super Bowl?
Where did I celebrate the
Yeah,
Super Bowl?
where did you celebrate the Super
I
Bowl?
watched it at my house.
Really? Tell us about the spread. Let's start with the
Oh,
food.
I mean, we had all kinds of food.
What did you have?
Chips, some dip,
Chips
ribs.
and dip. Ribs.
What else do we have?
I made
Buffalo, something or other.
I made nachos.
Jake made a big thing of nachos.
Jake, your nachos were
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, let's start from the beginning. First of all, I think the NFL did I thought it was an incredible job the NFL did with the cardboard cutouts and the way they spaced them out with the fans. It looked like
Real people.
It completely looked like you were watching a full stadium. Visually, it was perfect.
I had to convince Chase and other people that were there. I was like, this is
Yeah, it was great. And look, the NFL is the NFL knows what they're doing. That's why they're number one. That's why they're always number one in baseball shit in the bed. Because you're relying on guys like Trevor Bauer and Mike Trout to save your game. You're mad because Trevor Bauer. Right, major league, people will be mad because Trevor Bauer is doing this.
But he's spreading the game.
Right? So people within the game will be mad that he's doing this.
He's
but
making
then
the game more interesting to people, making it more
but then
fun.
But then the commissioner will sit there and tell you that I need guys like Mike Trout to tweet more.
And then Manfred will shut down Trevor Bauer and fine him for wearing a cleat that has 3 different colors on it or something instead of 2.
It's just Major League Baseball has got to get a clue. That's what I should do. I should
fine him
$10,000
$10,000 for wearing a pair of pink cleats.
Yeah, I should get a.
What did you think
contract with
about
Major
the
League
President of the United States and his speech before the game, wishing everybody a great game?
Baseball? Here's what's funny. I saw a post on social media about how great and wonderful it was. The guy and his wife said a couple sentences wishing everybody luck before the game. That's what it was. I mean, why do we go over the top? Yeah, it was great. It's a good message. The president gets on, says something, but the overreaction to it, for and against, is just crazy.
Look, I saw a lot of pushback from people on Twitter and social media against the NFL because the NFL was trying to portray itself as being accommodating or empathetic towards towards Black Lives Matter, towards racism, towards the political strife that we've been suffering for the last 4 years. And people called them out on it because you used Colin Kaepernick as a perfect example to say where were they to support him at the time. So a lot of people thought it was very hypocritical. Because
at the time, it depends on what helped your business, right? It depends on what helps your business at that time. What's going to help the NFL's business now is to support all that. And actually, I'm glad you brought this up because the NFL is a machine. They don't care who wins and who loses. Okay, they care about ratings, they care about money, they care about growing the game, they care about money. It's just the bottom line. So what's going to help them is now supporting, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't support those issues. What I'm talking about is now they're going to support those issues compared to back with Kaepernick, because I think there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of pushback with Colin Kaepernick with what he was doing. Right? So I think let's put it this way. The league doesn't care who wins. This is why I was getting mad when everybody said the refs. right? Everybody was saying, as soon as there was a bad call, the refs are cheating for Tom Brady. The refs in the NFL, they're not going to cheat for Tom Brady. They're just not going to cheat for Tom Brady. They don't care. They don't care who wins or loses. As a matter of fact, if they're going to cheat for anybody, they'll cheat against Tom Brady to win. Because if you go out and do a poll, Tom Brady is more people want Tom Brady to lose than they want him to win. Would you agree with that?
No.
You don't think if you did a poll out there, they want Tom Brady to lose? The majority of people want Tom Brady to lose.
I don't know. I would hope not.
I think you would, Jake.
I think right now, that the people support.
I feel like a lot more people,
that want Tom Brady to lose.
No, I feel like a lot more people want him.
They want him to win now.
A lot more people want him to win than previous years this year.
Right.
I think the majority of people out there.
I think he doesn't have as many haters.
I think it's the stigma around the Patriots.
No, I think the majority of people wanted him to lose.
Well,
I mean,
I
maybe
think in the past, maybe when he was on the Patriots and they had all the cheating and the Deflategate, things of that nature. Now he's on a mission.
Okay, so even then, why would the league cheat for him to win if everybody wants him to lose? Wouldn't the league want to cheat the other way so he does lose?
I'd say it's a lot closer now. I'd say before it was around like 70-30. Now it's moving closer to 50-50.
Maybe you're right. I still think they want him to lose. I still think they want him to lose. And to sit here, as soon as there was a bad call, I go on Facebook, and it was just, the refs are cheating for Tom Brady again. The refs are cheating. By the way, if you want less penalties, stop committing penalties. There was maybe one in there that was ticky-tack. At the end of the day, if you grab a guy from behind, and you saw he grabbed him, had his arms around him from behind, and then as soon as the pass was let go or tipped, he pulled his hands away. As if, look, I didn't do anything. That's the ultimate sign of guilt. The reason, by the way, they must have held them 15 more times in that game that were obvious.
Listen,
because they couldn't stop
Kansas City also lined up in the neutral zone several times. They were just shooting themselves in the foot throughout the game. And I wasn't buying into the idea that the game was fixed or that Brady bought the refs or that the refs were looking to get Brady to win. Mahomes was not able to get much done. He was forced to run from the pocket right from the beginning, right from the first quarter. You and I were talking about it. He wasn't making the passes, and instead he was carving out 10-yard runs to get the first downs.
He's running for his life.
And then he's running for his life and making passes that actually should have been caught. Could have probably had a touchdown or two.
Off the face. How many balls hit guys in the face?
Balls
in the face. How many passes hit guys right in the face all year? All year. Footballs passes right off the face.
Nobody needs a ball in the face, let alone two balls in the face, and they have to be caught.
And everybody wants to get on the refs, and look, at the end of the day, they kicked 3 field goals. Right? I mean, what was his numbers after the third quarter?
Mahomes?
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. Didn't we?
3 quarters in, Mahomes was 14 of 28, 114 yards with a 45 QBR rating with 0 TDs and 1 pick. Brady was 20 for 26, 195, 135.9 QBR, 3 TDs, no picks. And you're blaming the refs? What the hell are you doing?
Some tippy-tap calls in the second half.
On one drive, there was maybe one drive where there was a couple
in a row, right?
Well, hold on a second. And the one that went over the guy's head in the end zone? I mean, on my Facebook and Twitter, it was like, that ball's uncatchable. Well, it didn't matter if the ball was uncatchable because it wasn't a pass interference call. The call was on a hold when he was coming out of he was going to make his break and he was going to make his cut. He got held, ref threw the flag before that ball was even thrown over his head. So all these people that are just yelling, the ball was uncatchable, it doesn't matter. Know what you're talking about. It wasn't a pass interference call. It was a holding call because they kept holding him because they couldn't stop him. The offensive line dominated. Tom Brady, I think he got very little pressure. The offensive line for Kansas City could not stop Tampa Bay. The defensive line for Tampa Bay.
I thought the offensive line on Kansas City actually looked as though they were giving up sometimes. Mahomes was running for his life, rolling right, rolling left, rolling backwards, and his offensive line was watching, it seemed sometimes.
And Mahomes,
if I catch a clip of that, I'll show you.
Mahomes is the best, okay? Patrick Mahomes is the best at extending a play. Guy gets open, he can extend the play, and then he throws from all these weird, crazy angles. And he did it yesterday a bunch of times, and it didn't work. It just didn't work for them because of
balls are bouncing right off their face.
The balls are bouncing off their face, and the offensive line was garbage. And this goes to all you Giant fans out there who sit there for the last 5 or 6 years and scream about Eli and scream about Daniel Jones when that is exactly what Daniel Jones and Eli Manning has seen in the last 5 to 6 years. It doesn't matter who you put behind an offensive line like that. If it's a shit offensive line, they're going to play bad. He's the best quarterback in the game. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the game, arguably, right? MVP, 3 championship games in a row, 2 Super Bowls, 1 Super Bowl victory. And he can't play behind a bad offensive line. And yet all you knuckleheads are going to sit there and talk about how we need to get rid of Daniel Jones. This is basically the Giants. This was Patrick Mahomes playing for the Giants. That was that last night. That's what you saw. So think about that next time you make all these crazy comments about we need to get rid of Daniel Jones.
Too many drop balls. Too many drop balls. Lots of opportunities. Just too many drop balls. I mean, look at this play. He drops back, gets out of trouble, throws a beautiful pass, he just drops it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a pass he catches. And then they got a punt, and then there was another penalty, and then they had a punt from it, pushed him back, and he shanked it. Tampa Bay took advantage. Good teams they took advantage of all those mistakes, and that's what great teams do. They take advantage of all the mistakes.
I enjoyed watching that game. It was interesting to talk to people who thought the game was a terrible game overall. And
I mean, it wasn't a great game. Kansas City goes in all mad. Everybody's yelling about the refs. Kansas City goes in with it. They go in and they come out at halftime and they're angry because of what they felt they were ripped off in the first half. And then they come out and they settle for a long field goal and then let Tampa Bay shove the ball right down their throat on the next possession for a touchdown. Tampa Bay did not make any adjustments. They kept going to the same thing, right? They didn't try to take 2-step drops and quick slants. They didn't try to do that and go no huddle and keep it moving. It was the same thing that you kept losing with. And I just couldn't understand it. They were outplayed in every part of the game. They were outcoached. Completely outcoached in every part of the game. Todd Bowles, who was a terrible head coach, but is a great coordinator. And what's getting overlooked is Byron Leftwich on the offensive side. That offensive line dominated Kansas City's defensive front. Dominated them.
I just couldn't believe how Kansas City's offensive line played so poorly. And I was wondering, were they hurt? This wasn't their regular offensive line. Didn't they have some replacement players out there? I mean, look at this. Running back out of
replacement players.
Not a replacement player, but I thought they had second-string players. Then they switch a tackle from one side to the other. It was horrendous, and they got chewed up.
They just got completely demolished.
By the way, in the first quarter, it was only the first quarter. The first quarter, immediately Kenny goes, "Gronk's not doing anything this game. He's just sitting there doing nothing."
He was waiting for his touchdown pass.
Almost right on cue, touchdown, and then another touchdown.
Yeah,
it's like perfect.
Gronk
time.
was like your kidney stones. Right after you start talking shit, they showed up. I mean, you all right?
Brutal.
I mean, oh my God. What about the commercials?
I think they're getting better. I thought they were okay this year. Did they show
hold
the
on,
team
just wanted to
one?
go back to what I was talking
I'm sorry.
about earlier.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
I had mentioned the offensive line, and they didn't have their players. So the injuries on the Chiefs' offensive line, they simply couldn't overcome that. Eric Fisher injured his Achilles in the AFC Championship, and Mitchell Schwartz was out long-term with a back injury. So they had 2 starters that were out on the offensive line, and it showed.
Yeah, I mean, he had 59. Mahomes had 59 dropbacks, and he was pressured 29 times, most in Super Bowl history. It just goes to show you that no matter how good you are, if you're getting pressure on the court, if you're getting pressure all the time, and a lot of that pressure was up the middle too. He couldn't step in, he couldn't step up, and even when he did have a pocket, he didn't step up into it because he was just scared. I mean, it was like the Giants against Tom Brady, except those Super Bowls were a little closer. This was just a complete blowout. I mean, he was running for his life.
They didn't score 1 touchdown the whole game.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah, not 1 touchdown. The highest, the biggest offense in the game, no touchdowns.
kicked 3 field goals.
Now, I don't know. Were the refs out there?
Compare
Were the
this
refs out
to
there
with the
batting balls
Warren
down?
Sapp defense, from over a decade ago. What was a better defense? I mean, this Tampa Bay defense.
I mean, there are 2 inside linebackers there. I can't think of their names right now. They dominated they just every part of the game. The only mistakes Kansas City made was not running with Fournette on the goal line. That's the only coaching mistake that team made.
How about Ndamukong Suh laying low at Tampa? He's not stomping on anybody's faces. He's not getting any bad press, and now he's got himself a Super Bowl ring.
I mean, look what Tom Brady has done. I mean, you get into discussions about the greatest of all time, and Tom Brady, what he's able to do with teams and just keep everybody together and buying into his way of winning. Nobody was a problem on that team. I mean, there was some chippiness going on in the game. But, I mean, Antonio Brown has a Super Bowl ring now with Tom Brady.
I was say that. Your boy Antonio Brown.
AB, can't stand him. I don't know. It was just it sucks because it was just I mean, it was a complete shit show with the game from right from the start. Are there any comments? Because I'm not getting any commens.
No, it's a pretty slow night. The average.
Well, no, I saw you putting comments up, but they're not coming up in my thing. So I was just curious. Number to call in 845-366-2095 if you want to talk about the Super Bowl. What'd you think of the commercials? Does anybody give a shit about the commercials anymore? They're all terrible.
Did they air the T-Mobile one?
I don't know. Which one?
The one where Gronk and Tom Brady were on the phone?
No, there was a different one that they did with the judges from the Voice, Gwen Stefani and the country singer. It's the same.
Yeah, that's what
deal.
I thought because I saw the ad on TikTok and this won't be airing Sunday, and I was like, why not? I thought this was one of the better commercials in a while.
Yeah, the only thing, there was a commercial that kind of annoyed the shit out of me, the Bruce Springsteen commercial. It annoyed me.
Bruce Springsteen from Texas who went to Wyoming.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing,
going on there?
what he was doing, but he was trying to be It's amazing to me how you have someone who was sort of divisive for the last 4 years during a presidency now wants everybody to heal with this commercial where he's rugged. We gotta come together, and that's my Bruce Springsteen impression.
That was not bad.
But
You listen to Bruce Springsteen all the time.
yeah. So this sucks because I exactly. Thank you. I listen to Bruce Springsteen.
So do I.
Okay,
love his
I like
music.
some of his songs. I like his music.
Take issue with.
I took
with his
issue.
Commercial.
I took issue because this is another guy who's been divisive for 4 years, now wants to heal. You know what it's like? He's the guy who lights the fire to put out the fire.
Wait a minute.
He's the guy.
Did you think Bruce Springsteen was divisive over the last 4 years? Was he saying things that were political?
Wasn't he saying that he was
going to leave the country? With Trump being elected, or if he was reelected, he was going to leave the country.
He didn't.
One thing.
He also wrote a poem that said we need an exorcism in the Capitol, and a lot of other shit that he says. Which, look, I know you have an opinion, but don't be very vocal about all this stuff and then want to heal. It just annoys me. That's all. It just annoys me.
What did you think of the commercial though itself? If it wasn't Bruce Springsteen, what did you think of what the message was?
He looked like the message of healing, right? But the message of healing is coming from people who have been just as divisive, if not more divisive, than anybody I've ever known or seen. It's the hypocrisy of it. I'm not defending Trump or his policies or anything like that. I'm just talking about the straight hypocrisy of people. The ones that want to heal are the ones who have been the most divisive and are still divisive.
I was just wondering why he had the top down on the Jeep and it's so cold. Who does that?
Because he's from Jersey.
I don't know.
It just annoyed me. That's all.
Apparently it did annoy you. So that was one commercial. You didn't care for it too much, did you? What did you think about the Cheetos commercial?
What one was that? The only Cheetos commercial I remember is when Allie Landry was doing the splits, catching the Cheetos in her mouth 20 years ago.
Who's the
talking
guy
about the
from the
one-
70s show?
That's the one I
You're
remember.
talking about
The actor
Ashton
from the
Kutcher
70s, Ashton
and Mila Kunis. What's her name?
Kunis.
Yeah. I wish that commercial was 15 years ago with the two of them. She looked like a skeleton.
She looked like a zombie.
It was her makeup, is what it was, with the dark, right? It was like the
Yeah.
dark eyeshadow and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I can do that.
Not a fan of the look. What do you want from me? I don't know. The commercials aren't good anymore because people are too everybody's scared to like be funny. I think my sense of humor might be a little different than most, but people are just scared to be funny because they don't want to get canceled. Because everybody's so looking to find something to be offended and to send out an army to cancel everybody.
Well, there's the one Wayne's World commercial. What else was there? There's another commercial there's this one commercial that I don't remember it though.
But Wayne's World is another thing. That's 30
Squatch
years.
soap, dude. Did you see the commercial for Squatch?
No,
Sasquatch soap?
No.
No.
You didn't see that one.
did not see it.
How about for the skull shaver?
Oh yeah, that one was
See
funny.
the
I was
skull
laughing.
shaver
I was
one?
laughing
I'm
at
getting
that.
myself a
yeah.
skull shaver. I've never seen.
I would have
such
never-
I remember seeing that. I was like, how does this have a Super
commercial.
Bowl commercial? It just
Yeah, it was
this
crazy.
dude just shaving his head.
Yeah, but I would have never remembered that commercial if Kenny wasn't watching the game and he's bald. That commercial would have never resonated with me.
We all were like, "Wow, skull shaver."
Why are you laughing?
Well, they can also get the one that's
Why
like,
you laugh? You got to be canceled because you don't like bald people.
You're the one that said it.
You laughed.
There's also they also have the skull shavers where it's like not like for bald people. It's also like for like a regular razor. They also have. If you were watching the commercial, they also have one like that too.
I don't know. I was still mad about the Bruce Springsteen commercial. It's like the guy that
local
commits
sports.
it's the guy that commits the crime. The
I
guy
wanna
that commits
ask
the
you
crime
about-
and then sits around and then he
you said
solve the crime.
All right, local sports here. In
Nobody
Ulster
cares
County.
about local sports.
Listen,
I'm
the
just
12
kidding.
people that are listening to this show, they might have kids in the Ulster County School District, Kingston City School District, and I read that Kingston has canceled basketball, Socrates canceled basketball. What's up with that, Nick?
Well, when New York did their study about the spread, right, 1.5% or so was because of sports in New York when they did all the contact tracing. I can understand the cancellation of basketball, right? It's
Because you're all in a gym, all tightly packed together and stuff like that.
Wear a mask.
you're playing
don't
playing basketball.
You can wear a mask playing basketball.
I mean, you might
You're
pass
gonna
out.
you're gonna die.
No, you're not.
You're gonna run up and down the court in high school sports playing basketball with a mask on.
Yeah.
So when you take a big breath in and you
We're such a
suck
big
your
wuss.
mask in,
Who's such a big wuss?
It's hard running with a mask.
yeah, I don't even know what to say to that.
You have to get like a
I have-
specially made mask that's like fixated so you don't like.
Lacrosse players are playing with masks on. Girls field hockey's playing with masks
They're
on. Girls
outside.
lacrosse is playing
They're
with
out.
masks
They're
on.
going like this and
They're
taking it
still
off.
running, and they're still having to breathe through the mask.
They're outside.
I,
though.
I just think it
doing
would be very difficult indoors to have a high school sport.
Stuffy gym. Definitely easier
It would be
outside.
less stuffy because you'd have less people watching.
You're still inside though.
Oh, so what do you think? What do you think about baseball? Should they cancel baseball? New York State's already canceled the state championships
For baseball?
for all of high school sports in New York. There's
Yeah.
no state championships.
Because they don't want people traveling from other parts of the state.
It also allows them to delay the season, or rather squeeze in a season of actual games and not have to worry about the championships. What's more important to you? You want your kid to get in there and play some meaningful games, or do you care about the championship?
I don't care about my kids. Let's just be honest.
Well, baseball is classified as a medium risk sport. I think it's classified as medium risk sport. So
Well, yeah, and all the kids that are going to play high school baseball were all playing in tournaments over the summer. And
No
softball.
way.
Yes.
You're telling me that
I'd say
people
80%.
went and played sports
Yeah, and,
outside of the New York guidelines are in the summer.
Yeah,
No way,
and-
people wouldn't do that.
well, and then that 1.5% is taken into account all the tournaments, right? There was a lot of travel tournaments that were taking place in New York all summer between
Yeah.
softball, lacrosse. I don't know about lacrosse. You might know.
Lacrosse,
About
I would say no.
Okay.
Lacrosse, they were
Baseball
leaving
and
the
softball.
state. I saw a lot of people playing baseball and softball here in New York against the New York rules and regulations, or rather the guidance, and they would do it under the false premise of saying they were just scrimmages, and that's just what I observed. To each his own.
Oh yeah, you had to classify them as scrimmages because like COVID cares if it's a scrimmage or an actual game.
Right.
Yeah.
No tournaments.
They couldn't be called tournaments. That was
You
the
can
thing in
bring
Connecticut.
you can bring a bunch of teams together and do scrimmages though, but you can't call it a tournament.
Well, technically, you weren't supposed to travel outside of a contiguous county. So Ulster should not have gone anywhere other than, north one county or south one county.
There's just so much.
And now the rates are as high as they were back in March, and people are just so complacent. They have COVID. What's the word I'm looking for? COVID fatigue.
But we've lost our minds really with some of the rules and stuff. Like Amy, Abby, and I had to run down to Poughkeepsie, so we stopped at the mall real quick. Amy wanted to run in and return some sneakers. They have the benches, right? So there's the flower pot and then the square, and then around it they have places to sit. So it says no seating, no sitting. So there's a sign there in the middle. So then, I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to sit on either side of this sign, right? Maybe that sign is, kind of social distance you a little bit. But, I know that, I'm not supposed to sit there. But I'm like, I got to sit down. So I sit down. Nobody's around me on the bench. Nobody's sitting there. The security guard comes over and says, you can't sit there. We're not supplying. There's no seating in the mall. I didn't say anything. I just got up. But when Amy and Abby came out, I said, this is how crazy we've gotten. That I can go in that store and be around people. He even said I could sit in the massage chairs if I wanted to, which didn't make any sense because I can sit in the massage chair, but I can't sit here. And nobody is around me. Nobody's going to come sit next to me. But I can stand up right here, and that's fine.
They don't want to wipe the seats down.
But if I put my ass on that mat, that's a problem. But I can stand up. I could touch the walls. I can go into a crowded store. I could walk around the mall past people within 6 feet. But I can't sit down for 2 minutes on a bench? Is that stopping the spread of COVID?
Well, by the way, if you had
if
you had COVID, sitting down, whether you sit down or not, is not going to prevent if you spread it to other people in the mall.
I didn't rage. Amy says I raged. I didn't rage. Maybe a little. But it made no sense. That dude came up to me closer than 6 feet to tell me I couldn't sit on the bench.
Did he have a mask on?
Yeah.
You should have said, dude.
What's your problem?
We have social distancing.
You're allowed to be closer than 6 feet if you have a mask on.
I don't want anybody closer than 6 feet to me in no pandemic. Back up off me. Give me my space. I didn't rage.
This whole thing is like, good for you then. You stay home, just
Yeah.
stay away from people.
Yeah. Just stay away. Social distance all the time. I've been social distancing for 20 years. Where'd you get that cup from? That's a good logo. Is that Dean Myers?
You tell me.
Dean Myers. I don't know if Dean Myers is listening, but Dean Myers made this cup.
Here, you're on. Now it's just on you. You can show it to that
You're
camera.
frozen.
You ain't frozen.
I'm frozen. All right, here we go.
What's up with the cup?
Dean Myers at 5-star made this cup. France
5-star
podcast.
awards, signs, and
right.
teas. Where are
Not
they
paid.
located?
Not paid. Just giving a. Just
It's an
giving a
awesome
little-
cup. He's up in Saugerties,
right.
New York, and he made this thing.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Yeah.
I'd like to have one. Pretty sweet.
That's right.
Did I spill it?
Jesus.
Almost.
Christ.
did.
Bam.
I have these notes, right? So I told you I took these notes for the Super Bowl. And Amy apparently decided to write her own notes on my notes. I'll just read them real quick. So, what did I say here? Yeah, good job about the cardboard cutouts. She put still dumb. I wrote, woman ref joke, question mark. She wrote, "You're a joke. How many times do they need to get hit with balls in the face? I'll punch you in the balls."
Wow.
Tampa answers with a TD. Well, Holmes had success running in Q1, but only had 3 points to show. She wrote, "Suck it." Drop passes, hit you in the face. It's out of control. You've already said this. When everybody went crazy on the refs, I wrote cheating for Tampa Bay. She put Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's a cheater. You can have talent and still cheat. She wrote all these are like little love notes though to me. That's how I take it. KC talking shit. Went out after the half, kicked a long field goal, and then let them shove it down their face. She wrote, "You should talk about talking shit." And then she made a couple amazing comments, but she's she thinks she's funny. She's not.
What's up with the new song intro? Did you explain where we got that from? When we first
Yeah, that was Greg Combs.
That's right. It was Greg Combs.
Greg Combs is a friend of mine who's a musician that I want to get over there and jam on the drums with someday.
Sweet.
He plays guitar and he plays the drums, but he made that made the intro music. It's good. It's good stuff. Jake, what do you have?
That's really far behind.
Huh? Yeah, it is kind of far behind. I don't even know why I looked at it. I need to talk about this Tom Brady, the ref cheating real quick again. It just drives me nuts that people will just automatically default to the refs are cheating for a player or a team. Those same people, because it's so bad, right? Cheating for a player and cheating for a team is so bad, I'll never watch football again. I mean, I saw that on Twitter. Tom Brady's cheating for the Reds. I'll never watch the NFL again. Same people that want Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. The same ones. The people who complain about cheating for Tom Brady want Pete in the Hall of Fame. And the connection there is, and I understand the refs aren't gambling, right? They're not accusing them of gambling. But it affects the integrity and the outcome of the sport, which really hurts the sport, and it could become like boxing or figure skating.
Well, I
right?
feel like the people's argument with saying that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame is that the Astros got no discipline for their actions with cheating in the World Series and throughout the whole season.
Okay, but
The players got zero discipline.
But now you're justifying one person's shitty actions. You're defending a shitty action with somebody else's shitty action. And we brought this up last week about you were throwing rocks through the Bailey School. That you weren't. But what if you were throwing rocks? Let me rephrase that. If you got brought home by the police because you were throwing rocks through the Bailey School window, and then you say, "Well, Chase was doing it," and then I go, "Oh, okay, well there you go. Your officer Chase was doing it too."
Okay, but if I'm the school principal, if I come up and I punch someone in the face, right, and I go to the office, right, and then someone else does the same exact thing, they punch them in the face, they don't go to the office, even though the principal was standing in the front both of the times. They know it happened. Then I got penalized. The other person didn't. Don't you think that's kind of...
So are you saying you shouldn't be penalized, or
No.
they should be penalized? Which is it?
I'm saying they should be penalized. I'm not saying...
So there you go. So they
I'm not saying Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I said a lot of those people's point for saying that he should be is that the Astros got no discipline. That's what their point is. Remember with the Tom Brady cheating thing, they can't. There's no really opposite side to that.
What hurts the game more long term? Now, look, Manfred, it was a joke. All right, he offered immunity to everybody. Nothing happened. The two coaches now are back. They're back in the game. Nobody got in trouble. Pete Rose. Now, I know you can't bang garbage cans and stuff like that, but there's been sign stealing forever. To the extent of using technology, now that's a different story. The rule in Major League Baseball is, and it's posted in every locker room when you walk in, you see it before you come out, is there is absolutely zero tolerance. It's a lifetime ban if you are involved in baseball and you gamble on the game within the
sport. Is there really a sign in every locker room?
Yes, it's posted because it's that important. That's how important it is that you cannot have
I'm going to fact check that.
Go ahead. You cannot be a player or a coach and gamble on games in baseball. It doesn't matter if you're gambling on your team to win, if you're gambling on them to lose. It doesn't matter if you're gambling on a game that you're not even involved in, because you could have some influence. And then it's so important. The game would go away.
Was Pete Rose gambling for him to win or to lose?
Let's say he was gambling for him to win.
That'd be. I would.
That makes it better, so he should go in the Hall of Fame.
I'm not. I didn't say. I literally said one word. I did not say that. I said it would be a lot worse if he was gambling for them to lose.
I disagree.
I'm not saying.
Wait, he said it would be a lot worse if he was betting on them to lose. Isn't that worse?
How is that not worse?
That's worse.
I think it's the Major League Baseball looks at it the same.
We didn't ask you that. We asked you what's
But
worse.
I'm looking
betting
at it.
on your team to win.
I'm not
or betting on
saying.
your
I'm
team
not
to
saying.
lose.
I'm not saying gambling on a team to win is good. I'm just saying that it'd be a lot worse.
In the context of gambling in the game,
especially when you're the manager and you control your team.
Correct, but that can affect and influence the entire outcome of a division if he's gambling for his team to win or lose. It can't happen.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying it would be a lot worse if he was gambling for them to lose. Because you can argue that he can control the whole game to make his team lose on purpose.
But he can control.
You can't guarantee them to win, though.
But he can control a whole nother series that's more important because he's got money on this game to win. You want me to give you an example?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm
gonna give it anyway.
I'm just saying that it'd be a lot worse if he was gambling for them to lose. Either situation, no matter what context it is. Because he can take out whatever player he wants.
It would be too obvious, though, right? It would be too obvious.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it'd still be a lot worse if he was gambling for them to lose.
I don't know. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but in the context of whether it's right or wrong to gamble in the sport, I think it's the same. I mean, if Joe Torre is managing the Yankees and it's 1999, right? 1999 is a bad year because we'll take 1999. And he's playing the Minnesota Twins on a Thursday. He's got money on the Yankees to win. And he's got the Red Sox coming in, and the Yankees are one game up on the Red Sox in the division, coming in for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But he's playing the Twins on a Thursday. He's going to be more apt to use Mariano Rivera for a 2-inning close on a Thursday to win that game, which then makes him unavailable possibly for a Friday or a Saturday, Friday and Saturday, or maybe he's available Friday but not Saturday, Sunday, or maybe he's available, right? He's not going to be fully available in a game that now can, in a series that can determine the entire outcome of a division, which could change the whole course of the playoffs and the World Series. It just simply can't happen. And then it becomes, you're now boxing, right? I mean, how many fights have we watched where the outcome, all the metrics say that, Manny Pacquiao won.
He did win.
But then they gave it to the guy from like Australia.
Manny Pacquiao won that fight, though. I remember watching that.
We watched that, right? Oh yeah, we did watch that.
He won.
But wait, he won in every statistical category, right?
Yeah, he had.
Who did the
more
judges
hits.
give it to?
They gave it to the other dude.
You don't want Major League Baseball becoming that. You don't want the outcome not being trusted. And that's also, yeah, those are the nachos.
Those are good nachos.
Yeah. And that's why I hate, and this is another reason why I hate Bud Selig.
Just trying to add a little levity here.
What's
Those
levity?
Are levity. Making things a little less weighty.
That's not weighty. I just talk
gambling and all this negative stuff. You know
Well,
what we need to
they-
have
Hold
in
on,
this world?
hold on.
They
Gambling's
were-
negative?
You know what we need is more nachos
They were layered.
like these.
They were layered very
These are
well.
the nachos you made?
I put
Gambling's
the chip-
negative.
I put the
If
chips
I said
on-
let's go to
I put the
Scranton right
chips
now.
on, and then
Let's go.
toppings and stuff, and then more chips, and then
more
toppings
chips,
again.
and then more toppings.
I would say they're better than most restaurants.
That was look like really
Yeah,
good
I would
nachos,
agree with that.
Jay.
I would
Jay,
agree
those
with
look
that.
like good nachos. Good man. How's your Spanish coming
Paul
along?
Quantrill was completely overused by
Spanish?
Joe Torre.
Spanish is
Spanish
good.
coming along.
Spanish is muy bien.
It's JK Yankee Stadium. That was the coldest day ever, I think.
Jay Krantz, Yankees.
That was after Yankee Stadium closed after
Old
the
Yankee
last
Stadium.
game, and that was the last tour. All the monuments were gone. And when the dugout, the press booth,
However,
it's cool.
I got a tip.
Oh, that's a hallway.
That you went inside the hallway, and I got a tip while we were talking that there was no sign about gambling in Yankee Stadium, and that came from Amy Krantz.
the stadium was already not being used. They've already played their last game.
They already took the signs
So you
out.
think they
Everything
took
was
the
stripped
sign
out of
down?
it.
Tell Amy that.
First of all, she doesn't. There's no way she remembers if there was a sign there or not.
She sent me those photos.
I can tell you this: they wouldn't let us take photos inside the locker room. They made her put her lens cap on before they would even let us into the
What
locker
about
room.
your cell phones? Oh, you didn't have cell phones?
I remember
No, there was no.
surprised.
I had my Nokia Snake. I was playing Snake on the phone.
How old
They
was
made
I?
me put it away.
How old was I?
I don't remember.
I remember the locker room though. Still,
Going up the hallway
I
was one
remember.
of the greatest things ever because I'm thinking like Chris Chambliss ran up this hallway after hitting a home run to win the ALCS against the Royals.
Why did he run up the hallway?
Because he hit the
Was the
home
game
run,
over?
and yeah, he hit the home run. They win. People storm the field, and then he's knocking people over. He's rounding the bases, runs in the dugout. Think all the World Series that these guys.
whenever I
won
think of
and ran
that
up there.
hallway, I think of like the slow motion video you always see of Derek Jeter walking down it.
Yeah.
like in
Right.
every Yankees documentary.
It was so
ever.
tight too. It was a very tight hallway. Like you come up, you come up the. You know, you have to go around the bat rack. It was a very tight, small little place. They needed a new stadium.
Lockers were small.
Yeah, but just to put a bow on this whole gambling thing and kind of like, you know, one of the reasons that I hate Bud Selig is, you know, another example of a guy who starts the fire to put it out, right? Bud Selig with the whole steroid era, really, and I know he couldn't do much, but he really didn't do anything to help stop the steroids because it helped the game so much. But then when he's going to retire for his legacy to get in the Hall of Fame, he runs around and tries to take everybody out that ever did steroids, just to kind of you know, seal up his legacy. Like we should forget about all the other shit that happened with steroids that he really had no problem with. Right? That goes back to Bruce Springsteen.
Better than Manfred.
Huh?
Better than Manfred. These Bud Selig's not trying to destroy the game.
Bud Selig tried to destroy a franchise though.
I
Because
could argue that steroids save baseball.
no, I agree. I'm not saying they didn't. I mean, it was great. I love the home runs. Who doesn't like a guy with a massive head hitting balls 500 feet in the upper deck of Yankee Stadium?
I agree. I watch more baseball
I mean, seriously,
then I do
if he
now.
wants to do the
It was more
steroids,
fun
whatever.
To watch. It was more fun to watch.
It was
I
fun to
wanna
watch
see
on TV,
bombs.
yeah. But you know, he tried to contract. So Bud Selig owned the Milwaukee Brewers. Okay, his family owned the Milwaukee Brewers. He owned the Milwaukee Brewers. Then, to be commissioner, he had to like, almost like the president has to put his stuff in a blind trust. He turns over ownership to like his sister. And then, at one point, tried to contract the Minnesota Twins out of baseball. And the Milwaukee Brewers were terrible, and the Twins were at least good. They at least won World Series in the 90s. 80s? Whatever. But who benefits from the Minnesota Twins not being around anymore?
I don't know, but are schools safe for our children to go to school yet?
I don't know.
Can we talk about that next week? Because people are going insane.
I don't
They
know.
want their
Bud
kids in
Selig's a
school,
scumbag.
Nick. They want their kids in school.
Baseball has been a long time since baseball had a good commissioner.
Who was the best commissioner ever?
Well, definitely wasn't the one when Babe Ruth was around or when Roger Maris was hitting 61. 'Cause that-
Racist.
What?
Well, yeah.
He was racist?
Yeah, they were all racist.
Yeah, well, he also was like single-handedly trying to stop Roger Maris from getting 61 because he loved Babe Ruth.
Yeah, and then when he got it, he kind of, you know, they put all the
Asterisks and
Yeah, I mean,
no asterisk anymore, right? Well, he doesn't hold the record anymore, but
well, he doesn't hold the record.
didn't he get
so I
the
don't know if they
asterisk
took the
taken
asterisk.
off?
Yeah, I
Like,
think they took it off
after
after
he
a while.
died, though.
Yeah, after he died. This is what they do. They treat it like shit, and then they don't only have the record. And then when you die, they're like,
I gotta watch 61 again.
we'll take it off. I mean, that's a joke. Ford Frick. That's right. James Jolly's a wealth of knowledge.
Have them call in next time.
I don't know if he'll call in.
Give them something to talk about.
Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Jake, you got anything to say?
No.
I'd like to thank our guest, Jake Krantz.
Jake, you did an awesome job. It was so nice to sit here
Kenny.
and listen
Thank
to
you.
the two of
Thank
you
you.
talk.
Thank you.
Well, originally
It was awesome.
Kenny might have not. He there was a chance he wasn't going to be here. A, because he may have had to go somewhere, or B, he may have been in the
Passing
bathroom.
stones.
Yeah, he may have been passing stones in the bathroom. So we had a backup, and Jake, since I don't know how to run all that shit over there, Jake knows, so he was going to run it and do all the cameras. And then Kenny was going to be able to be on.
Jake brought his knowledge about the Mets.
And then I said, just sit in
That was
anyway,
awesome.
Jake.
The baseball
Grab the
knowledge.
third
Every
mic.
week you could come hang out here, talk to your dad about
let's not get
sports.
crazy. Let's not get
Take us out.
Take us out. I want to thank, again, everybody for listening. We're going to have Greg Combs' original take us out.
Send your kids to school.
Send them to school. It's
Get those
okay.
kids to
Follow
school.
the science. You want to follow the science? Follow the science.
Get those kids to school.
As I'm opted out.
Huh?
As I'm opted out.
Shh. Go to school. Everybody. Just flip the switch. If you follow the science, that is, of course.
You wanted me to wrap it up, and I got the music on, and you won't shut up. You held up a sign. Done. We're at an hour. I got to go to bed.
You can go
See
for
ya.
3 hours.